This is going to be an exciting video. I have one of the most affordable electric bikes out on the market. This thing starts at $1,000. They give you hydraulic brakes. They give you a rear rack that holds 150 pounds. 1,000-watt hub motor in the back. The bike also folds in half to put in your compact car if you don't have a bike rack or anything like that to put it on. Metal fenders, fat tires. You cannot go wrong with this bike. Let me take the camera off the tripod, bring it in here. Let's check this thing out. So let's start off in the back of this bike and make our way to the front. So the very first thing you're gonna see in the rear is the brake light. And then here you go, you got the XP logo on the side of this rear rack, which if you come up top, you can see where the holes are for the rear rack, where you put some stuff on there, or a passenger seat if you wanna take someone. Just keep in mind the weight limit is 150 pounds max, so you don't wanna break it, so don't overload that. You do have a nice seat that they include with the 3.0 model. It does have suspension in the back as well, so that's pretty nice. And then your tourney derailer, which comes all the way over to this huge chain ring, which honestly looks pretty impressive on this bike. Maybe it's just because the bike is small overall, but I'm pretty sure we're not gonna be ghost pedaling too much at higher speed, but we'll just have to test it out in a bit. You also have the folding pedals right here that makes it a little bit more compact when throwing it in the vehicle. They did add a sticker to the bike that says it's a class 2 e-bike, 500 watt maximum and a top speed of 20 miles an hour. I like the fact they added that because some bike trails or walking paths allow only class 2 e-bikes, not class 3. So that's definitely gonna keep you out of trouble. So unlike other bikes that come with keys to remove the battery, this is actually how you do remove the battery as well, but this is also how you turn the bike on too. So to turn the bike on, you can take the keys out right now because it's not on, but as soon as you flip that on, you cannot remove these keys during any type of ride. So just keep that in mind that you're gonna have to have the keys on there 24/7. Just make sure when you're done riding it to pop those keys out instead of just turning off the display. And here is a look at the front wheel with the full fender that covers everything. Your suspension does not have that much travel, but it should be okay for most roadways and little dips here and there, but I would probably not go out jumping this bike because you're definitely gonna run out of travel. You could also lock the suspension up front if you wanna do that, and you have preload on the other side. But jumping right back down here, you're gonna see that this is not your standard 20 by 4 inch tire. This is actually a 20 by 3 inches wide. So if I come over here, you're definitely gonna see that it's smaller than your average e-bike. Right up here, you do have some mounts. So if you do wanna put like a cargo rack up front to have more storage, you can do that as well. And then moving down here is where you have your headlight and then a reflector right underneath that. Your cable management is honestly pretty clean for the most part. I can't complain about it whatsoever. Up here, you're gonna see your hydraulic brakes. They feel very good. One thing I noticed is they have to move this very high up because that comes in contact with the hydraulic brakes. They probably just didn't have enough room to move this over because it'd be too far from the handlebars. So now let me flip over on this side and sit on the bike and show you everything over here. Here's how it looks to sit on the bike for the very first time. Let's start on to the left-hand side and work our way to the right side. So you have some rubber grips on this side. I like how they look, I like how they feel, but they are not locking. I would have liked to see locking grips on this bike. Over here is where you have your controls right here. So here's your plus and minus to go up in pedal assist. And then here is your power button. So you just hold that to turn the bike on. Make sure you have the key in the on position first or your bike will not turn on. Now going over the display real quick, here is your energy bar. This is technically your battery bar. I'm not exactly sure why they call it energy bar, but anyway, that's your battery level right there. This is going to be your speed as we're moving. And then right here is going to be your pedal assist. So if I go up and down, we can go all the way up to 5. And then here is your odometer right down here. But if you do come over here and hit the power button, you guys can get a trip. You can also get your voltage. That's what VOL stands for, 54.5. We're on a full battery charge on a 48 volt system. And then over here you have your current. So it's gonna tell us how much current we're on as we're riding, so we can view that. And then the time that the bike has been on. So right now I've had it on for 45 seconds. And then it goes back to odometer. So that's pretty cool. Now moving on over here, this is where you're gonna have your 7-speed Shimano. These come on like 95% of bikes. I never had a problem with them. And then here is your half twist throttle and a half rubber grip on this side. So one thing I wanna do very quickly, let me turn the bike off and I wanna see how easy it is to fold this bike. So first off, you have to take the keys out, just throw them in your pocket or whatever. I'm just gonna do that really quick. This thing should fold very easy. You have a handle right here above that little display that says 20 mile an hour e-bike, class 2. And there you go. You do have to figure out how it's going to collapse because you do not want the pedals to come in contact. But there you go. That's exactly how you fold it. It does have a little thing on the bottom so it rests on, so it's not gonna mess up your paint. And then also this folds as well. So let's see, it goes this way. And there you go. That's how compact this thing can fit. That's kind of badass if you ask me. And it's very light and very easy to pick up. So you're not gonna have a problem with it at all. Pretty impressed so far. Pretty impressed. All right, so that's pretty much it. Let's go on the GoPro and take this thing for a spin because as you can tell, I'm sweating very bad in this garage. I got no AC in here, so let's get out there and go for a ride. All right, so I got to move this seat up, I noticed, as going down the road because the pedals come up way too high for me. So even though I move the seat up, I can still flat-foot it. That's how low you can go on this bike, which is crazy. All right, so you guys know what I like to do right off the bat when we have a fresh charge on it. We need to see what our top speed is. And our top speed with throttle only is roughly about 19 to 20 miles per hour. If you want to go any faster than that, we're going to have to pedal. And like I said, since we're on a full battery charge, let's start pedaling and get this bike at its top speed. I'm also recording the top speed with my phone right now, so we'll verify it with GPS and we'll see how accurate it is. But wow, I saw 29, but then it dropped down to 27. You guys see that? 30, can we get 31? I'm pedaling as hard as I can. 31 miles an hour. I saw it pop up for a second. There we go. This definitely feels way better than some other bikes that I had to pedal in the past. It does feel like I'm moving my feet a little faster than I would like, but they made a right choice on the size chainring they put on here. I'm not having a problem yet with pedaling this thing. If we got anything over 28 miles an hour, that's just a bonus for us. All right, so I pulled out my phone so we can see what our speed is. And there we go, 29.8 miles per hour. Now the fastest speed I saw on here was 30.1, but it popped up for a brief second. The top speed that we were hitting consistently was 28.7, 28.8. So that is 100% accurate with that. So whatever you see on the screen is what speed we're doing. So that is super cool, they got that right. Now this bike doesn't feel bad whatsoever. So it has a peak of 1,000 watts on that rear hub motor, but technically it's a continuous 500 watt motor, but it feels like it picks up very good. They were probably right with saying it has 55 Newton meters of torque, but I want to say this feels more like 75 to me personally. It definitely has some speed to it because it's so light of a bike. I'm not complaining. This thing is very nice and like comfortable and smooth. This is honestly a fantastic bike for the price, and I've only done 2 miles on it so far. I can definitely tell you guys this bike is worth it before we do any of our tests. You can't go wrong. They are putting out some premium bikes, but if you do want to spend a little bit more money on their website, they do have some higher end bikes that start at about, I think, 14 or 1500, and you guys can purchase those if you want, but this is kind of like in the middle. They also have a light version of this. It doesn't have as much power and some of the accessories on here. Those start at $799. All right, we are in our designated spot where we're gonna do our speed test. We're gonna use a throttle only on this time and see how fast we get before we get to the next intersection. I will say I know how this is gonna go. We're gonna hit 20 miles an hour in no time, and we're just gonna be sitting at 20 miles an hour. But I'm very curious to see how fast it gets up there. So no pedal assist whatsoever. Here we go, 1, 2, 3. 8, 10, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Yeah, it did drop us down to 17. Now it's going back up, 19 miles an hour. All right, so it stopped at about 19 miles an hour, and it made it there pretty quick, I would say, way before we got to the end of this road. But now we'll try the pedals out by themselves without the throttle and see how well it does. And I'm also gonna go through the gears as well. I am gear number 1. We're gonna go all the way up to 7, and I'm also gonna tell you how it feels when I'm ghost pedaling at what speed. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, no throttle. Come on, pedals. There we go. Oh, ghost pedaling, go through the gears quick. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. All right, so I'm still not ghost pedaling it. All right, 24 miles an hour. Come on, come on. 25, 26. I'm still not ghost pedaling. All right, now I feel like I'm putting a lot of rotation in and my feet are ever so slightly like hovering over the pedals because you gotta like force them down and rotate. But not too bad. Like 26 to 27 miles per hour, you're not ghost pedaling on this bike. That's fantastic. I knew that huge chainring was gonna come in handy. I knew it. This is definitely a very good bike if you want to pedal. And technically you have to pedal anyway if you want to go over 20 miles an hour. But it feels great. No complaints. Well, my seat moved on me. I'm sitting a lot lower now. Let me move this back up and get this in the right position. Okay, there we go. Now we're sitting good now again. Make sure that's tight because that was a scary feeling. I thought I broke the seat. But anyways, this is how the bike looks out in the sun. Other than what this is, get out of the way, get out of the way. So here it is. Honestly, it's beautiful. It looks so nice. I like the gloss black with the slight blue. Blue is my favorite color. If you come in here real quick, you're gonna notice that this blue and this blue is different from these two. So this one is like a medium in between this, and this is a very light blue. And I don't know, I just like the color of the blue in general. It's very, I don't know, it's not really out there, but it definitely stands out in a good way. Another thing you guys probably didn't notice that I didn't really talk about in the garage is that you have these little, I don't know, there's little rubber pieces right here on the frame. And this is where you fold it down. It's because this will come in contact and scratch the frame. So I like that they did that just to protect it. And then this is also when you fold it all the way back, it probably comes in contact with something back here. So this is just to basically protect the frame from getting scratches or paint chips or anything like that. So it's a nice little touch. It looks weird that's there, but I'm just trying to explain to you that's what it's for. So the next thing we gotta do, that you know all that information on the bike, is we gotta come up this hill. 500 watts, 1000 watt peak. I'm a little worried. It feels powerful for how light it is, but coming uphill, I'm a little worried. So without further ado, I'm gonna stop talking and show you guys. 1, 2, 3. Oh, it's doing it. What? It's doing it. No way. Wow. That's what I'm talking about. It made it up that from a standstill right at the bottom. Not many bikes can do that, especially with 500 watts and 1000 watt peak. That is impressive. Also, the controller in here is 20 amps, just to give you an idea of what we're working with and why it probably got up this hill. Because some other e-bikes are like 15 amps or 18 amps. This one's packing a little bit more of a punch. Now, I know I don't need to do this test again, but let's just come up it with a little bit of speed. And there you go. If you just run up with something, a little bit more power, you're good to go. I've noticed as I've been riding this bike, I didn't want to get into it until we did this test, and I keep noticing that the fender up front keeps making noise. I don't know exactly why. It's just vibrating on something. It's not the best feeling, but it's okay. It's not like anything's wrong with it, but it definitely makes the bike feel cheap. There you go. You hear that noise? So I'm not a big fan of that noise and what it is. I'm pretty sure it has to do with that right there. Maybe if we put some little rubber washers or something like that on like this, that would probably make the noise go away. Or maybe even right here. I think it might be making noise right there too. So just something you might be able to do. But so far off-road, it's okay. It doesn't feel the best at all, but it's not the worst. I think that noise is getting to me more than anything. All right, now that we got some speed, now we can see how it feels to hit bumps going this fast at 28, 29 miles an hour. I don't know. Woo. The seat feels decently comfortable. It's not terrible. But having no rear suspension is definitely making this bike feel a little bit more jarring than anything. But I'm gonna have to go on a limb and say this is in between like a 6.5 and a 7 out of 10 compared to some of the other e-bikes that I reviewed. Now, how does this thing turn? I'm expecting it to turn pretty good, and wow, we're moving pretty fast. Oh, wow. Wow, way good, way good. Since these aren't 20 by 4 inches wide, the smaller your tire is width-wise, you can definitely get into that like turn and very much like tuck yourself, or almost kind of like motorcyclists, like, you know, get on the side. But I'm kind of limited on the space that I have right here, but it feels very good turning this bike. Not a single problem with it. The tires are a little noisy because they are made to go off-road a little bit and be on-road. But I'm okay with it. It definitely felt okay off-road, and street tires wouldn't have done that very well. But now the next test, we got to test out these brakes. So let me get up to speed. 29 miles an hour, we're going pretty fast. I'm gonna let off, all right. Whoa, yeah. Damn, those worked. So check this out. That's the line. If we stop behind this line, then you know we have a very good brake setup. And if we stop behind that line right over there, if you can see that one, that means it's kind of intermediate. But wow, that was good. That was fantastic. That is not far at all. Dang, and we were moving too. We were doing like 28, 29 miles an hour, and I stopped like right here. It looks like the tire started right here sliding. So when the front of the bike hit somewhere in this section, that's where I started stopping. But oh, that's fantastic. I think a heavier bike would have pushed us farther, but I think the way this bike is light, it definitely helped. So huge props on them, man. These brakes work very good. Still surprised at how much you're gonna spend on this bike and the performance you get out of it. I would not be disappointed if I had to use this every day to go back and forth to work. I really wouldn't. Like, there's some shortcomings on it, like, I don't know, the fact that it is a little bit smaller than your typical e-bike, but the way it's set up, it definitely doesn't feel small. But when you see it next to other e-bikes in my garage, this is definitely on the smaller side. So the next thing I like to do before I get too far, let's test up this throttle, see how fast it is. So 1, 2, 3. It's instant, man. It's instant. 1, 2, 3. Instant. There's no delay. There's absolutely like no delay whatsoever. It's just nuts. That's awesome. Let's try out the pedals. I think the pedals had a little delay when we tried them earlier. Let's see. Oh, that's not bad. Like half a second. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, roughly like half a second to maybe a little bit longer than half a second, but it's not a full second. It's a little bit less than that. So 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, not bad at all. This is great. They got their stuff together, guys. This feels awesome on the road. Here's a quick little update while we're taking the dirt trail back, is that we're down 1 battery bar and I have went a little bit over 5 miles now. It doesn't give you a point after the mileage, so you just know if it's 5, 6, 7 miles. You don't get that 5.5 miles or whatever, so we're probably close to 6 miles. Oh, there we go. All right, as I was just speaking, we actually went down another battery bar. So now we're down 2 battery bars for probably almost 6 miles. Still not too bad though. I'm not pedaling at all other than that test we just did just to see how it felt. But I really don't pedal my bikes. But if you definitely want to get more range out of it, you can definitely pedal at your heart's content at a lower pedal assist. Do whatever you want with the bike. Woo, this is just worst case scenario. Now the bike popping out the curve felt perfectly fine. It's just that fender that's making noise. I'm not hearing anything from the rear chain, which is nice. Most bikes, you hear the chain slapping around. The fact that I don't hear that is very nice. We just have to fix the front fender to get rid of that noise. I'm still so surprised on how well this bike picks up. I know they said 55 Newton meters of torque, but it feels like it's slightly more than that. I feel like it's like 75 to 80. It feels so good. I wonder if they're underrating their products or something. Let's see how it is to come up curves because it's so light on the bike. Oh yeah. It's a little bouncy. I did air these tires up to 35 PSI. You can go from 25 PSI on the minimum all the way up to 45 PSI. And even at 30 PSI, they felt like they were very hard. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't want to go too high. So I just kind of went in the middle of what they recommended. But if I do want to get a slightly better quality ride, I can drop them down to 25. And if you want to get more range out of it, just air them up to 45, but be careful, it's gonna be bumpy. Woo! So you can always hear that motor cutting in and out when I'm turning. I just start pedaling. I'm worried about clipping the ground, but woo! There's some bumps over here, what the heck? Woo, this is why we do not take the sidewalk on most e-bikes. Look at this. Look at how jacked up this is. Imagine if we took the Extreme Bull K6 over here. Woo! Oh, this is a fun bike. The fact that it's so light is what's making it so much more funner. Woo! Oh, we got air. We got air. All right, so it is now saying we did 6 miles. I'm gonna check on my phone and see what the mileage says on here. So 5.8 miles on my phone since we started recording, and that says 6, so that's pretty accurate. All right, good job on that. So whatever mileage you see on here is, it's gonna be right. I'm highly recommending this one, and I will have links down in the description to help you save some money on this bike as well. Thanks, man, I appreciate it. Dang, man, you gotta be careful. The guy's not even paying attention. It's turned out right in front of me. But yeah, I love this bike. It's so good for the price. You cannot go wrong with it. $1,000 with the smaller battery and $1,200 with the bigger battery. This is a no-brainer. This is probably one of the best, cheapest, affordable bikes I have ridden in the last probably year. This is hands down great. I will see you guys at the house. I'll update you guys on the mileage and my final conclusions on this bike. Okay, so the final thoughts on this bike, what all you guys been waiting for after I finally got to ride one of these bikes, which I was excited the whole entire time. This video took me longer than expected because I want to make sure I got everything right. Something I didn't mention yet is that you can put someone up to 330 pounds on this bike. And that's where this bike kind of comes in clutch, because 330 pounds of a limit. You can also have a max of 150 pounds in the back, but keep in mind of your own weight as well as that. So that's gonna factor in. But I love the fact that they have this built in, so it has a huge max rating on there, because if this was a bolt-on rear rack, it'd probably only be like 60 to 80 pounds of a limit. But that's also maybe a con to you, because maybe you do want to take it off because you don't like that. So you're not going to be able to remove that, but your brake light is also attached to the back there. Now the brake light doesn't work with the brake levers. That would have been nice to see, but maybe just raise the price over $1,000, and maybe they're trying to keep it under there, because that's the best thing about this bike is how cheap it is. You cannot go wrong at the price. The next thing I want to get into is the fact that this seat goes so low that even the shortest people that I know that are probably like 4'5", 4'6", they should have no problem sitting on this bike with the seat all the way down, and at least be able to put one foot down without having the bike completely sideways. And then you can raise the seat very high to have someone, you know, that's maybe 6 foot or something like that. I don't know how high it's gonna go. I can kind of show you and give you an idea. I'm 5'10", and that is your minimum right there that you can go up. And that, what the heck? That is, okay, well, maybe Shaq could get on this thing, I don't know. That goes higher than I thought it was gonna go, but all right, let's go all the way back down to kind of where I felt comfortable. But I just love the fact that I can sit on this bike and put my feet down comfortably, and I actually have the seat like this much higher than it will go all the way to its lowest part. So it's fantastic. The torque, the speed, everything was great. We hit 30 miles an hour, almost 29, what, 0.8 or something like that. And the fact that it says 55 newton meters of torque, I feel like this thing has like 75 to 80 newton meters of torque, because it actually takes off better than you would think. Now, it's not gonna blow your socks off, but at the same time, if you're just getting into electric bikes and you're trying to save all the money possible, you are not gonna complain the power that this bike has. You're just not. It's actually fantastic. You just have to decide if you need the long range battery or the standard battery, and that's just really gonna come down to where you ride at, if you're gonna be carrying cargo, if you have a long trip. I would probably just opt to get the long range battery, because you don't wanna be the person in the group ride, if that's what you do, that has the lowest battery range, and then you're the one stranded or having to take off before everybody else. So I always opt to get the biggest battery possible, because range anxiety is a huge thing. But I highly recommend the bike, guys. I'm not gonna say anything bad about it other than maybe its size. It's a little bit more compact than I'm used to. It's actually smaller than any other thing in my garage except the K6. But when you're riding it, it doesn't feel small. It just looks small in person. But I'll leave it at that, guys. If you guys wanna buy one, links will be down in the description. I'll have a coupon code hopefully for you guys. And I will see you guys in the next one. You guys are the true MVPs. I love all you guys, and I highly recommend it. I'm telling you, go out and buy one if you haven't already. If you have a buddy that has one, ride it. I think you're gonna be really impressed. See you guys. Oh, and if you guys still stuck around to the end, I apologize. So 50.4 or 50.5 is our voltage reading, but unfortunately our battery bars went all the way back up to the top. But if you go off of voltage, that will tell you exactly where we ended up. So that's our range right there. I'll put it up on the screen so you guys can see that.